This is week 8 projections at the quarterback position. So this week I'm going to project the 5 quarterbacks I think will have the best games of the week. And number 1 quarterback this week's going to be Patrick Mahomes, coming off a struggling game versus Denver, but not even really struggling because they didn't have to throw the ball much. The defense did most of the work for once for the Chiefs in winning the game. This week Mahomes, he has the Jets. He's going to throw a party all over that field, I think, in MetLife Stadium. The Jets got no answers. They're the worst team in football with 0-7. Mahomes, he's going to make it look easy in New York City this Sunday. And I say Mahomes, he's the top scorer. He's going to get you probably 300 yards plus and 4 touchdowns. The second quarterback of the week, it's going to be Lamar Jackson, I think. People have been down on Jackson most of the year because he's not living up to the number 2 quarterback drafted in fantasy leagues this season. And Lamar Jackson, he's a ranked 10th or 11th in fantasy points for quarterbacks this year, so it's not the value you want. His last game versus Philly, though, Jackson had a nice 32-point fantasy day. This week he's got Pittsburgh Steelers he's versing, and they're the only undefeated team left in the game. It's going to be a division battle, and I think Lamar Jackson's going to show out with a huge fantasy game. I could see him rushing for 80 yards on the ground, throwing for 2 to 250 with 3 or 4 total touchdowns. So Jackson's going to be the second best quarterback in my opinion this week. The third is going to be Russell Wilson. Right now he's the best fantasy quarterback. This guy puts up points like no other each and every week. It seems like he puts up 40 plus fantasy points. Last week Wilson was hurt a little from the interceptions he threw versus the Arizona Cardinals, but this week another divisional matchup for Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks, and they're looking to bounce back after the tough loss. And Wilson, he might be out, no Chris Carson or Carlos Hyde in this game, but it's going to be all on Wilson's back if the rookie DJ Dallas has to start. Wilson's going to go out there and throw that ball 40-45 times. DK Metcalf, I expect him to get back in it. Last week he had Patrick Peterson on him, but he couldn't do much. But TJ Lockett had a monster game, was Tyler Lockett, with 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. So Wilson, the production's going to be there. He's going to have a big game. I'm going to project him around 35, 40 fantasy points for Wilson. The next quarterback's Aaron Rodgers. After a bad game 2 weeks ago versus Tampa Bay, he came back with a vengeance, him and Devontae Adams versus the Houston Texans, where he put up a good fantasy line, 37 fantasy points for Rodgers. And this week, I'm going to expect him to get a little lower. It is a divisional matchup. The Vikings know his tendencies and stuff, but Rodgers, he'll still do his thing, so I'm going to project him 32 fantasy points for Aaron Rodgers. And the fifth and final guy is Tom Terrific, going versus the New York Giants is kryptonite, but this ain't the same New York Giants from 7-8 years ago when they beat him in the Super Bowl twice. Tom, he's back in the Meadowlands. He's going to be no Chris Godwin on the offense, but I don't think it matters. He's got Mike Evans. I think he's going to finally wake up and have a breakout performance, is Mike Evans. And then he's also got Rob Gronkowski. He's getting into shape and form the last 2 weeks now. They're starting to get the rapport. Scotty Miller, he's starting to work with. So I think Brady will be fine. He'll finish the day with 32 to 30 fantasy points, I say. So that's top 5 quarterback performers I expect heading into week 8